I promise you, there are homes that are available that you can buy today that make sense financially. But you probably aren't finding them because you are not looking at properties and evaluating them the right way. Or even worse, you are not even looking at all. This is one of the things that I talked about in the last live workshop that I did. The workshop was a blast. I talked about how women can use their first house to turn that into a monthly paycheck and a backup plan to your 9 to 5. If you missed that last one, don't you worry. I am hosting another one. I will leave the link in the comments. And you don't want to miss it because it was fun. It was a blast. Lots of lessons were learned. One of the stories that I shared in that workshop is about ladies' night. Now, if you haven't been to the club in a while, like me, like ladies' night is essentially the day of a week where there's special incentives for women to go to the club. So maybe it'll be like, the ladies are free until a certain time, or ladies get a drink for free, or certain drinks are free. So essentially it's just a day of the week where you can go to the club and they give you perks to go if you are a girl. Because there's an incentive for women to go, on ladies' night, there are going to be way more women at the club than normal. So if normally there's, 50 guys versus 40 girls, maybe it'll be 80 girls versus 50 guys, right? Those are just numbers I made up. But the ratios are going to be skewed where ladies' night, there are way more girls in the club. So now back in the day when I was in my 20s and going to the club all the time, the fun part for me was hustling guys for drinks. Don't judge me. Judge yourself. Essentially, I would say, okay, I'm going to go out. Let me see how many guys can buy me drinks today. And that was the fun part for me. I no longer do that. I don't have time for that. It's just a no. But anyway, if my goal is to go and hustle guys for drinks, if I go on ladies' night, yes, I can hustle guys for drinks, but it's going to be way harder because there's just way more competition at play. But if I go to the bar instead on Sunday football night, then there are going to be way less girls at the bar and I can take my pick on who's going to buy me drinks, right? There's less competition. Now I want you to take that same idea and apply it to buying a house, and not just buying a house where you are going to make income from it. When you are waiting for the housing market to be good, then you are essentially waiting for ladies' night. And ladies, that is not smart. You are going to find your best deal on a house when there is a starving crowd, i.e. when it's Sunday football night and there aren't any girls around. And just to give you a real life example, when I was going for a walk the other day, I saw a house with an open house sign. So I'm nosy. I always like to see what's going on in my neighborhood, what's for sale, what does the house look like on the outside, what are the prices, just so I'm up and have an idea of what my house value is at based on what other things are going for and selling for. So I took down the address, and when I got home, as soon as I got home, I typed in the details to see what the deal was with this house. I'm going to run you through a few scenarios with this house that I looked at just so you understand how right now is Sunday football night. So even though the news is saying home prices are high, insurance is high, interest rates are high, yes, all that can be true, but all that being true means that you have less competition, and less competition means that there's a starving crowd. So this particular house that I saw really just breaks this down perfectly. For context, this house is in New York City. So if you're not from New York City, the numbers might sound crazy, but still bear with me for a little bit. So when I looked up this house, the pricing on the house is pretty fair based on what I've seen recently in terms of prices. For me, it wouldn't be profitable for me to buy based on what I want to see in terms of numbers, but it's still a good exercise for us to go through and look at it. So this property was a 2-family house and it is on sale for $799,000. Now, most people would just look at that and say, well, that's too expensive. I'm not doing it, and then not dig any further. And that's why most people think there aren't any deals out there. It's not a good time to buy. There's nothing that's profitable. But if you take these few extra steps and it's Sunday football night, ladies, you're going to be winning, right? If you're the buyer, you're the lady. If you're the seller, unfortunately, you're the guy, so you're not in the winning position. But for this particular house, here's the first thing that I saw that makes me understand that right now is Sunday football night when it comes to buying your house. The house was on the market for 3 months. That means that it was posted for sale and it's been for sale and nobody has purchased it. There's no offers that have been accepted, and it's 3 months. That's a long time for a house to be sitting around with nobody purchasing it. If you are the buyer, if you're looking for a deal on a house, why does that matter? Essentially, if a house has just been sitting around, the longer that that house sits, the more antsy and anxious that seller is going to be, right? It's kind of like when you go for an interview and you feel like the interview is going well and you really want the job, but then, week one, you don't hear back. Week two, you don't hear back. Now it's 2 months. Now you start to feel like you're not going to get that job. So it's the same kind of feeling for the seller where, they put the house up for sale. Month one, no hits. Month two, no sale. Month three, it's still there. And the longer that that house sits without anybody purchasing, the more that seller's going to get stressed out that, oh, shoot, am I really going to sell this house? And it's an opportunity for you because that means that you have more of an advantage because you can be comfortable and confident going in with a lower price offer because clearly something is up with that house that's causing it to not sell. So if that seller really wants to sell it, then they're going to have to budge a little bit if they're serious about selling. So that's where you have an opportunity to go in and offer a lower price, which means you are creating a deal for yourself because it is Sunday football night. Something else I noticed about this house is that in that 3 months that it was sitting, the price actually changed. So it was originally listed for 800 and something thousand, but the price actually dropped by 20K since it was first posted. Why that matters for you as a buyer is that if you have seen that the price has dropped from the original listing price, that seller is willing to negotiate. That seller wants to sell because if they were hard pressed on their original price, they wouldn't be willing to wiggle that down. If they're also willing to proactively reduce that price, that suggests that they are a serious seller. And so if you go in and you ask for concessions or you ask for a lower price, well, then there's a good chance that you're going to get it because one, that house has been sitting on the market for 3 months. Second, they have lowered that price. But the biggest indicator for me that, hey, like this could be a potential deal if you're willing to negotiate for it is that the house had actually been listed for sale last year. It was on the market for 3 months. And it had been listed for sale at an even higher price than what they initially tried to sell it for this year. What this should signal for you as a buyer is that this seller really wants to sell this house. They tried last year, it failed. They're trying again this year at a lower price. It's seeming to fail, and so much so that they decreased the price. So what these three things mean is that because people aren't flooding and putting all these offers into this place, into this building, that means that you have an opportunity to go in and negotiate. What it means is you have an advantage because it is not ladies' night. Instead of waiting for things to be good and for all the ladies to be swarming and giving sellers choices and making all these offers, you want to go in and go hard right now when sellers have houses on the market for 3 months, where sellers are lowering prices, where sellers have to put in the place for sale multiple times in order for it to actually sell. That's where you are able to find a deal because you have more leverage because you don't need to buy a house, right? You want to buy a house. You want to give yourself options. You want to buy an asset. Yes. But if the seller has put the house for sale multiple times, lowered the price multiple times, waited and waited for somebody to come and buy this place, they want to sell this house more than you need to buy it. And because essentially you don't really have anything to lose, you have an opportunity to go in and place an offer that is way below what they're asking for and see what they say. Because the worst that they can do is come up and say, no, we're not going to take that offer. Or they can respond and meet you in the middle for something that's still cheaper than what you would have paid for the place if you decided to wait for ladies' night. Now, there are a few things that I want to look at besides just the price to make sure that a house is worth it for me to buy, because I specifically want to buy a house that is going to put money in my pockets on day one. I go through what those things are and how you can do it yourself in my live workshop. So make sure you check the link in the comments to join my next workshop and let me know in the comments, are you going to be waiting for ladies' night or are you going to go ahead and take advantage of Sunday football night?